Good morning. Today we're going to look at applying the distributive property and combining like terms. So first we're going to find the perimeter and the area of the rectangle. So I'm going to start by finding the area. Area, hopefully, of a rectangle you know is base times height. So of this blue rectangle, base is x and height is 3. So we write that as 3 times x or just 3x. You'll most likely see it written as 3x instead of 3 times x. And then here, of the red one, base is 4, height is 3, 3 times 4 is 12. So our area is 3x plus 12. Perimeter, on the other hand, perimeter is when you add up all of the sides. So this side is 3, this side is x, this side is 4, this side is also 3, it's the same as the left. This side is also 4, so plus 4, and plus another x. We know that x is really just 1x. So if we combine our like terms, because this looks really big, long, ugly equation, 1x plus 1x gives us 2x. And then combining your like terms here, 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 3 more is 10, plus 4 more is 14. So our perimeter is 2x plus 14. We can't combine these because one has an x and one doesn't. Let's look again here. First, finding the area. Area is base times height. So the base of this first one is x. The height is 6x. This is really a 1x. So 1 times 6 is 6. But then we have x times x. Just like we had 3 times 3 before, 3 times 3 is 9. We could also write that, instead of just solving, 3 times 3 is the same as 3 squared. So x times x is the same as x squared. So 6x squared, because we have x here and x here. X times x gives us x squared. And then this rectangle as well, base is 7, height is 6. 6 times 7 is 42, and there's just 1x there. So our area is 6x squared plus 42x. We cannot combine these because one has a squared and one does not. Our perimeter, we have, I'm going to start writing them, 1x plus 7 plus 6x plus this side will also be 7 plus this, which is 1x, plus our last side, which is 6x. So combining our like terms, 1x plus 6 gives us 7, plus 1 more is 8x. 8x plus 6x, combining all of our x's together, should give us 14x. And then last, just 7 plus 7 is also 14, but there's no x, it's just 14. So 14x plus 14. So we're going to do what's called the distributive property, is just really just multiplying. I like to think of this as a classroom. Everything that's inside our parentheses are students inside here. We have 2 students, a y and a plus 3. And our teacher is out front. Our teacher is always touching the parentheses right here. So our teacher goes in front of the classroom, in front of our box to distribute, and y plus 3 goes on the top. So there's a 1. 4 times 1 is 4, and there's a y. And 4 times 3 is 12. So our answer is 4y plus 12. We can't combine these because this has a y and this doesn't. We're multiplying, not adding, because this is touching our set of parentheses. We're really distributing the 4 to both terms, or giving candy out. The teacher's giving candy to the whole class. Well, here's our classroom again. So inside our classroom we have y and a plus 7. But our teacher this time is just at the back of the classroom. That's okay, that's really just a y. Remember, y times y is the same as y to the power of 2. There's 2 y's there, so y squared. And then y times 7 is just 7y. So our answer is y squared plus 7y. Moving along, I don't have a box drawn here, but you can draw one. In our classroom we have 2 minus n, And our teacher that's touching our parentheses is really the 8. 8 times 2 is 16. We're multiplying, they're touching. And 8 times negative n, that's really a negative 1n. Well, 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. And there's an n there. So your answer is 16 minus 8n. Some of you may be able to do this by multiplying like this without drawing the box. That's okay. Here's another one. Inside our classroom, we have n minus 9. And our teacher out front is just an n. So we have n times n, just like y times y. N times n is n squared, or n to the power of 2. And n times negative 9, just put them together, negative 9n. So n squared minus 9n. Here's another one just like it. Inside our classroom we have 2x minus 11. Our teacher out front, it's really not a number there. This is really a negative. It's like a teacher that's hiding. This is really a negative 1. So when we multiply, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 11 is a positive 11. So we have negative 2x plus 11. This one, our big set of parentheses, there's always got to be more than one person in our classroom. Right there we have 2n and plus 6. Our teacher is touching, and this doesn't really need to be in parentheses, it just is. So it's 1/2. If you want to write 0.5, that's fine. So 1/2 times 2, or what's half of 2? Well, half of 2 is 1, and there's an n there. Half of 6, or 1/2 times 6, is 3. So your answer is 1n plus 3. And then down here, think again. There's a little dot here, or star, to show be careful. Which is our classroom with 2 terms? It's m and a minus 5. This is really one term. It's all multiplied here, and it's touching our parentheses, so that whole thing is our teacher. So this is really just a 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. And m times m is m squared. So we have negative 3m squared. Negative 3 times negative 5 makes a positive 15. And there's an m. So we'll simplify this one as negative 3m squared plus 15m. Be careful. Cannot combine these two. This is your answer just like it is. This is squared and this is not. Hardest part of this one is probably knowing that that is our teacher, all one term. This one's pretty straightforward. Our teacher up front is a 2, and our classroom is x plus 3. So we have 2 times x is just 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. 2x plus 6. Now we're going to get into some terms, vocabulary. Our first term is parts that are added or subtracted from each other. We've been looking at an equation or an expression. Our terms are just the individual pieces. So our terms are y, 9, negative 3y, 2h, and negative 17. Our like terms are terms with identical variable parts, same letter, or they're just a constant. And well, what's a constant? A constant down here is just a number without a variable, like 7. That's just a constant number. It's never going to change. It's always going to be 7. So our like terms, with the same letters, we have y and negative 3y, and we also have 9 and negative 17, which are just our constant terms. We could combine those together if we were adding our like terms. Our coefficients are the numbers in front of the variables. In front of this y, there would really be a 1. There's no letter here, ignore the 9. In front of the y here is a negative 3. In front of the h is a 2. And there's no letter with the 17. So again, those constants, those are also like terms, 9 and negative 17. So let's do just that. Let's combine our like terms. This term has a 5, an x, and a y. This term also has an x and a y. And this term also has an x and a y. So we can actually combine all of those together because they have x and y. So 5 plus 2 more is 7. plus 10 more is 17 xy. And then there's nothing we can combine this negative 3 with, so just subtract 3. That's your answer. On this next one, combining your like terms, this is really a negative 1x. This is a positive 11x. I like to start with the letters first. That's how your answer key will do it as well. These are different signs, so subtract 11 minus 1 is 10x. And then we have negative 8 plus 5. Again, different signs, subtract 8 minus 5 is 3, but there's more negative, so it's a negative 3. There's our answer. Simplifying some more, just combine your like terms. 5y combined with a negative 14y. Different signs, subtract. 14 minus 5 is going to give us 9, 9y, but there's more negatives, so it's a negative 9. All we're doing is combining the ones that have the same letters. But now we have a classroom here. We've got a whole big set of parentheses we are going to have to distribute. This one is where people get really confused on, so be careful on this one. This 11x is not touching our parentheses. There's a subtraction sign in between there. That's really subtracting a 1, or the 1 is touching our classroom. So our teacher is a negative 1. This 11x is just there. This is just another term that we're going to have to add on to the end when we're done. Because it's positive, that's why I'm adding. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x. Negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. So I have negative 1x minus 7, and then that positive 11x, because we didn't distribute that. So we have our like terms, negative 1x and positive 11x. 11 minus 1 is 10x, and then just that subtract 7 there. That one's a little tricky. You need to know that that's a negative 1 and it's multiplied. So that's your teacher out front. This 11x is just the hall monitor, somebody else hanging out that's not supposed to be there. So here again I see a classroom, I see a big set of parentheses. We have x plus 4. Our teacher out front, multiplied by it, is a negative 2. This one's not our teacher because there's a subtraction sign there. It's not directly touching. The number is not touching. Okay? So this negative 3, again, it's just something that's hanging out at the end. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. So we have negative 2x minus 8 and a minus 3. So our like terms, we don't have any other x's, so negative 2x. But then negative 8 and a negative 3, they're all negatives, add them up, negative 11. This one, there's no distributing, we just have to combine our like terms. There's no other w's, so that's just 2w. But then we have 7 and a negative 8. Different signs, subtract. 8 minus 7 is 1, and there's more negatives, so negative 1. Here we're getting into a little bit more complicated ones, but we can do it. Here I see a big set of parentheses with 2 terms. We have to have more than one person in our classroom. So I'm going to distribute this. This is our classroom, 5 minus y. Whatever's touching, that's our teacher. So our teacher is this whole thing, negative 3y. This 8y is just somebody else, could be the hall monitor, just hanging out. They're not in our classroom. They're not distributing. So negative 3 times 5 is negative 15 with the y. Negative 3 times really a negative 1 makes a positive 3. And y times y, this is where people mess up, is really y to the power of 2. Y times y is y squared. So we're done with those. We have negative 15y plus 3y squared plus 8y. Our like terms here, this is not a like term. There's only one term with a squared, so 3y squared. And then we have just our regular old y's. Negative 15 plus 8. There's more negatives. There's 7 more negatives, so negative 7y. Here again we're distributing, but I see a classroom here and I see a classroom here, so I'm going to have to distribute 2 times. This one is 6 plus n. This one is n minus 2. Our teacher in front of this is the 5. our teacher touching this one is a negative 2, not just a 2, a negative 2. So 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times n is 5n. So we have 30 plus 5n so far. Negative 2 times n is negative 2n. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. So negative 2n plus 4. All I did was distribute both so far. Now I'm going to combine our like terms. 5n minus 2n, 5 minus 2 gives us 3n. And 30 plus 4 is 34. Alright, two more like this. Most people get confused on this type of problem. We see our classroom, it's g minus 4. Our teacher is not 8g. There's a subtraction sign separating it here. That's really a negative 1 is our teacher, multiplied or touching. This 8g is just some other person, maybe our hall monitor there at the end, monitoring our classroom. Negative 1 times g is negative 1g. Two negatives multiply to make a positive 4. Negative 1g plus 4 plus 8g. Combine your like terms. Negative 1 plus 8 should give you a positive 7g. And then plus 4. Can't do anything with that 4. I would like you to try this last one on your own and then check to see if you got it right. Our classroom is a plus 1. Our teacher is the negative 4 because it's touching. This a is not. It's really a negative 1 or a positive 1a just chilling over there. Negative 4 times a is negative 4a. Negative 4 times 1 is still negative 4. So our like terms, negative 4 plus 1, different sign, subtract 4 minus 1 is 3a, and there's more negatives. And then we just have minus 4. Alright, there's two more that we have to do. They are fractions. Oh, one with the fraction, I'm sorry. This one is just distributing 2 times again. We see 2 classrooms. We do it 2 times. 3u minus 1, 3 minus 2u. Our teacher here is a negative 4. Our teacher here touching is a 7. 4 times 3 is 12, and it's negative with the u. Again, 2 negatives make a positive, and it's 4. So negative 12u plus 4. 7 times 3 is 21, so plus 21. And 7 times negative 2 is negative 14 with the u. This would get you most of the points on your test, but we need to combine our like terms. Negative 12 and a negative 14, they're all negatives. If you need to add it up, you can. Should be 26. They're all negative, so negative 26u. And then 4 plus 21 is 25. Alright, this next one, again, I see my classroom. I'm going to draw a box. I have 10w minus 5. And my teacher is this whole term, 4/5 w. If you wanted to use your calculator and just plug it in, that's fine. However, I know 4/5 times 10. 10 is really 10 over 1. So if I multiply straight across, 4 times 10 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5. So I have 40 divided by 5 is 8. And w times w is w squared. So I have 8w squared so far. Then I have 4/5 times negative 5. Well, that's still negative 5 over 1. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 goes into 20 4 times, and it's a negative, so negative 4. But there's also a w there. So our answer is 8w squared minus 4w. Can't combine them because one has a w and one doesn't. Now some of you might be thinking, can't I just multiply 4 times 10 and get 40 and divide by 5? Yes, you can. That's exactly what we did here. Multiply the top and divide by what's on the bottom, because on the bottom over here is really just a 1. Alright, last problem. A department store is selling its plastic shoe boxes for $1.50 off the regular price of a shoe box. You buy 4 shoe boxes. write an equation that gives the total cost T as a function of the regular cost R of shoebox. Let's start with that first. First, we're going to write an equation. We know we're buying 4 shoeboxes, and we're getting them for $1 off the regular price. Well, the regular price, they said, is R, so 4 multiplied by the regular price, but they're subtracting $1.50. That will give us our total cost for 4 shoeboxes, which is T, total cost. We know how to distribute. Four times R is just 4R. 4 times negative 150. I'm going to plug that in my calculator. Should get a negative 6. So we have 4R minus 6 equals T. We don't know what R and T are, except now they tell us find the total cost. So find T if they regularly cost $3.59. So we have 4 times R, and R is $3.59, and subtract 6 when we're done. So 4 multiplied by 3.59 gives us 14.36, and we have to subtract 6, which would give us 8.36. Talking about money, $8.36 for 4 shoeboxes. Not even shoes. Seems like a ripoff to me. But that is our problem. We are done. Make sure you show your work on your homework.